Just waiting a moment while I think this is getting started. Welcome to Love and Loss. I'm Sherry Johnson. I'm the founder of Sherry Johnson Coaching and the Love and Loss podcast. And today I am here to chat with you about this limiting belief or myth that tells us that you shouldn't experience joy while you're grieving. So back in 2018, I stopped listening to the little voice on my shoulder that told me that I should be sad. And it changed the trajectory of my entire life. I know that seems maybe grandiose, but it's true. I had this little voice on my shoulder that was telling me, you've had 3 miscarriages, you've experienced infertility for 6 years now, you're grieving, you should be sad, not joyful. And it wasn't a really conscious kind of a thing. It wasn't like I really heard myself saying these words to myself. It was kind of in the back of my mind, and it was this just little feeling of holding back every time I wanted to feel something on the positive end of the spectrum. So instead of really letting loose and laughing out loud and really letting that go, I held back just a bit. It wasn't that I didn't laugh. It wasn't that I didn't cheer on or get excited when something great happened, but I was holding myself back. And it was that little voice that was telling me that I could chuckle but not laugh, not truly laugh, that I could be hopeful but not get too excited. It was telling me that I could be happy sometimes, but that I shouldn't be ecstatic. I remember actually going to a dinner party shortly after my 2nd miscarriage, and no one at the dinner party even knew that I was pregnant, and so obviously didn't know that I had miscarried just a couple of days before. And there was a lot of laughter and partying going on. There's probably about, 12 or at least 12 or 14 people. There was kids there, there was adults, and it was, there was lots of partying going on. And I wanted to laugh, I wanted to join in, but there was a big part of me that was holding me back. Partly because I just didn't feel like it, and that's normal when it's so soon after a loss. But it was also feeling like maybe it was dishonoring my baby if I was feeling too jolly. So let's talk about where this actually comes from. It really made me think of Scarlett O'Hara. And have you read Gone with the Wind, by the way? Throw a yes in the comments if you've read Gone with the Wind, or maybe type Gone with the Wind. If you've read it. It's such a great book, by the way. There's a movie out as well, an old movie with Vivian, oh my gosh, I forget the characters' names, or the actors' names. Anyways, great movie, great book. Scarlett O'Hara has a mind of her own, and there was a point in the story where she loses her husband in a battle, and she's supposed to grieve and wear mourning attire, like black full mourning regalia, for I don't know how many months. And I think it was after 2 months when she said, nuts to that, I am wearing my colorful clothing, forget this grieving, I feel fine. And she was ostracized. She was judged very severely by her family, by the town that she was living in. She was really severely judged. So I actually looked this up. And in the Victorian era, which is when that book takes place, there was actually mourning etiquette, and it was written down, and you can find it on the internet. If you were widowed, you were supposed to grieve or mourn for 2 years. So that meant wearing black clothing. They had like a mourning style headdress. You were supposed to be solemn all of the time, and you were supposed to stay like that for what they deemed to be an appropriate amount of time. Like, there's time limits to grief that the outside world can place on us, which we all know is not true. So I actually read this excerpt from this thing called Manners and Social Usages. It was published in 1887, and it says, "Common sense and common decency should restrain the frivolous from engaging much in the amusements and gaieties of life before 6 months." So, all that to say, regardless of where it came from, I think this is where it originated, was the Victorian era, when the world or society was placing all of these rules around grief and mourning. But regardless of that, regardless of where it came from, it's now your job to quiet that little voice that is telling you that you shouldn't feel joy, or that you shouldn't feel ecstasy, or that you shouldn't feel happiness or peace, or whatever it is. Because what you're doing is telling yourself that you don't have the right to feel the full spectrum of emotions after a loss. And that just simply isn't true. You deserve to feel all of the emotions. Whether they are the sadness and the anger and the envy and all the things that go along with grief after a miscarriage. But you are also entitled to feel joy, and to feel peace, and to feel happiness or excitement or amazement or awe, or whatever emotion your body feels like displaying. So, there might be someone who judges you for doing that. That might be yourself. For me, it was myself. I don't know that anybody else was judging me, but I was, certainly. You still have a right to show that emotion. So I encourage you and invite you to give yourself permission. Decide that you're going to feel, and feel everything. Feel all of the emotions. Don't spend another minute holding back on what you feel. When that happens, when you do that, you are going to start, your whole life will just start becoming more happy. That's what happened to me. The moment that I decided, I'm going to feel all of the emotions, I'm going to let myself feel them, I started to feel more happiness. I started to let go of the negative emotions that go along with grief and just with daily life. And I was able to move into this place where I can feel true joy. I can feel, even in the midst of challenging situations. And it's the allowing yourself and the lack of judgment that allows you to get to that place of happiness. So I would love for you to just give yourself permission to feel the full spectrum of emotions, to feel excited, to feel all of the things. So that's it for today. I also invite you to download my free PDF, Roadmap to Navigating Grief. That will give you my formula for moving from sadness and triggers to peace and joy. You can get that, there's a link right around this video. So just click on that, get the free PDF. And I will be back soon with another video with tips on how to navigate grief after a miscarriage. We will talk to you soon. Bye.